Hey gang, Stat1150. Going to give you some information on the final project. You're probably thinking by now, you're probably thinking that, wow, this final project thing is either a lot easier than I expected it to be, or I'm doing something wrong. No, it's a lot easier than most of you probably expected. So if you remember, you've either got data set A, B, or C. Most of you have been making consistent weekly progress on your final project, but now we're getting to the end of the semester, and you probably got a question: what do we do with all this stuff? All right, so what I want to do is I want to run through what you should have been doing all along, and then what you're going to do with it once you get it completely done. So what I have is because a hypothetical data set. It really wouldn't be very interesting. Well, it'd be very interesting if you got your data set chosen, but if I chose one of the three and demonstrated this with that, it would kind of take the fun out of it. So what I have, let me get out of this. What I have on my desktop is I have a data set called hospital. And you'll see a hospital, the hospital data set is set up a lot like yours. The first variable is age, so this is the age of the patient when they entered the hospital, and then their stay is number of days. So this person is 53.2 years old, and when they went to the hospital they stayed 11.07. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to close this, and I want to go to Statcrunch. So I'm going to go to Statcrunch website, and I want to select a file on my computer, choose the file, and I want to upload hospital to Statcrunch. Load file. And just like that, I have the data set that I need. And you can see we've got, I don't know, what, 99 subjects, or, well, patients in this case. So let me get out of full screen and get this where I can do kind of a dual screen kind of a deal. All right. So so the first is report the mean, median, standard deviation, and IQRs for age and stay. So guys, you should know by now that you go by the way, I'm going to go ahead and apologize. I'm fighting some allergies, so I may be coughing, hopefully not too much. But if I go to summary stat and go to columns, what I can do is I can select both columns, maybe. So age and stay. And I want to select the mean and the standard deviation. Well, I want to do the mean and the standard deviation. What else do I need? The median and the IQR. So guys, the first week or so, this is all you would need to do. So for age and stay, the mean is 52.96. The mean for stay is 9.57. The median is 52.8. And the median is 9.35 for stay. The standard deviation is 4.26. 1.74, and then the IQR for both are 5.4 and 2. So I'd report that as 5.40 because I want to be consistent in rounding to two places everywhere. That's one place where I will take off on your final project if you don't round consistently. Now, the next thing we want to do was, well, what you wanted to do, you should already have this done, is predict stay from the age of the patient. So prepare a scatter plot, describe important characteristics, So guys, I'm going to close this down and go over and do that. To do that, I want to go to a graph, and I want to create a scatter plot someplace. And I want my X to be the age and the Y to be the stay. Now, I don't really need any grouping or anything fancy here. I can just hit compute. And guys, I just don't see much. I don't see a linear trend. So in terms of the scatter plot, I see a weak, somewhat linear, gosh, a little bit positive. So usually we do linear or not linear, positive or negative, and strong, weak, or moderate. So guys, I don't see much going on here in terms of a linear relationship. Now, in all transparency, the data set that you're using, you will see more of a linear trend. But anyway, now we can go ahead and do R and R squared. So let's do that. So I can go stat, regression, simple linear. So my X is age, my Y is stay, and let's go for it. All right, so the R and R squared, we can get that right up here. So the R is 0.15, and the R squared, you can see is very small. We changed that to a percentage, so that would be 2.1%. All right, so just so you know what I'm doing, I'm just writing this stuff there. The next thing I want to do is report the slope and intercept for the regression model. Well, guys, the slope is the value that goes with, excuse me. So the slope is 0.060, and the intercept is 6.41. All right, so we got that part. Now, the next thing you were asked to do, I think this was probably about week number 4, week number 4 or week number 5, I forget. Actually, I think it was week number 5, is report the confidence interval for one of the variables. Well, that's pretty easy to do, especially when you have Statcrunch. So we would go to stat, go to tstat, go to one sample, and with data. So we want to do for stay, and I want to do a 95% confidence interval and hit compute. So I get my answer from left limit, or well, lower limit and upper limit. So the 95% confidence interval is 9.23 up to 9.92. Now, I may have asked you to do the confidence intervals for both variables. Let me see. I've got your instructions right here. There's no need guessing at it when I can look it up and be sure. No, I just asked for the confidence interval for one of those. So, okay, so cool. Now, the next thing we want to do is test the claim that the average stay is 12 days. So I can go to stat, again, tstat, one sample, and with data. So I want stay, because it says so. And I want to perform mu equal 12 versus mu not equal to 12. All right, cool enough. Now the way this is the way this is presented is just a little different. So what I would do here, I would give the letter T because we did a t-test. The next thing it's customary to do is to report the degrees of freedom, which you can get the degrees of freedom right over here where I'm circling, right there, 98. The next thing is the test statistic. That's the value right here, negative 13.90. And here's the p-value pointed as, or reported as that. Again, this all comes directly from the output for Statcrunch. So hopefully this is what you've done. Now, if you didn't do it this way, you can't go back and get credit, but you can do it correctly on your final project, which is worth the most points, and get full credit there. And by the way, that's what's most important, because again, those are worth the most points. Now, you're done with this. You've got all this, and it comes time to submit your final project. Well, what do you do? What are the expectations? Because I think it's not particularly clear. Easy for you to say.